Alright, so in 10.51, we have the Gomez family who bought a house for $175,000. They had 20% down. Good for them. Then they pay 11.2% interest. Not good for them. Amortized over 30 years, and I want to know what the monthly payment is. Right? So, how do you set this up?
I would
figure out whatever the principal is by figuring out the 20%.
Good. So you need to figure out how much money they need to borrow first things first.
140,000.
So you did 20% of 175
This is 35,000.
is 35,000. So they financed, right? 175 minus 20% of 175 is $140,000. Really? 1,000, right? 1,000. And what's another way you could have calculated that? No.
Like in the matrices, right?
No, not for rough it. You could take 80% of 175,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're financing 140K. Then what? What else do you know?
You know that
Where does this, how about where does this 140K, where does that live?
that's your.
What does that mean?
That's your.
This is the amount of money you're financing, right? Where does the amount of money you're financing live in time? Is that you need financing today, or is that you need financing in 30 years?
30 years, over 30 years.
So it's over 30 years, right? But when do you need this money?
Today.
Oh, right now.
Yeah, you need this money now, right? So this $140,000, that money lives now, dude. You need that today. When are you going to pay this off?
30 years.
Right, that's, so your finance lives now, your payoff, right? Which is, I don't know how much money,
A lot.
probably a lot, right? But that lives in 30 years. You guys all with me on that? So the first thing I need to do is take my $140,000 that I need today and push it 30 years into the future. Right? So you take that money today and you say, okay, I want to pay this off with an annuity. So the way I'm going to pay that off with an annuity is I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to shove it into the future. Right? I'm going to figure out what amount I'm going to need to have paid for in 30 years. So how do you push this into the future?
You subtract 1 off your. Well, you multiply 30 by 12, and then you subtract 1 from that, right?
Okay,
wait,
so
no. You just have it minus 1 in your formula, so you just use.
no,
No, not.
I'm not annuitying yet.
Okay.
I just want to know $140,000 today is worth some amount of money in the future,
Right.
right? At 11% interest. What is that amount?
Are they ballpark?
Oh, you're effective.
I'm not ballparking,
Wait.
but I'm not annuitying either. I want to know how much money this is. This
What?
140K now, that corresponds to some amount in 30 years, right?
Right.
What
is that amount?
The GS one. How do you get there?
Well, you multiply that by 1 plus. Wait.
Okay,
Right.
I'm down with that. I'm down with like 140K now turns into something future, right? Like this is what I'm trying to figure out, and I'm saying, okay, so I take the $140,000, right? $140,000, and I need to multiply by 1 plus. What's your interest rate?
Point 112.
0.112 over how many compoundings you got in a year? 12, because you have 12 monthly payments. And then you're raising that to
12.
30 times 12 is 360.
yes, 360. Why is it 360?
Because it's 12 months in a year and it's 330 years.
Yeah, that's 30 years worth of compounding periods, right? Sucks. Yeah, this is why the difference between 11 and 11.2 is actually a thing.
So paying above your monthly payment, like, can you calculate how much you'd save, like, over the course of 30 years?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we can do that. The kind of easy way to do that is sort of kind of readjust, right? So let me finish this and I'll talk about how that calculation can be done. So this right now is the future value of the annuity that you need to create. So this is how much $140,000 is worth in 30 years, assuming 11.2% interest. So what do you get out of this? Somebody give me a number here. Make sure you're parenthesizing correctly. Da-da.
0.0093333 plus 1, so it's 1.09. Oh, you're doing the whole thing.
Yeah, whole
I
thing.
got 3,968.
Yeah. It's
But-
definitely going to be bigger than $140,000.
Yeah,
It's
do it
like
on my phone.
$3,968,160. Yeah, something like that.
That sounds crazy.
I'm doing it on the decimal calculator.
On my phone.
360
My
times
check
40.
That's right. A hell of a big number.
Yeah.
Oh, you just lost a comma in your voice.
Oh, well, it's there. It's in there somewhere.
Okay, so I have here on
3 mil.
Yeah, 3 million and
Almost 4 mil.
almost $4 million.
It's a
negative.
ton of cash.
It's 4 mil.
That's insane.
Why? Look at the interest.
Holy, 4 million?
Yeah, 4 mil.
We're paying 4 million for a $175,000 house.
That's just
Ah,
11%. That makes
There's no
sense.
way.
Ouch. That's not actually right, is it?
I did it for
There's
order of
no way.
operations.
It's screwed if you are.
So I did it step by step by step.
Okay.
Should have read the fine print.
that's
Let me
not.
double check. So what I'm typing in is 140 times the quantity of 1 plus 0.112 divided by 12.
I got that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Are you sure that's right? I have it in here written exactly like that, but.
Is that what you're getting?
That's what I
That's what I got.
There is no way.
Harsh, dude.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that is crazy pants, which is why you never borrow money at 11% interest. Just don't. It's not worth it. This is like putting your house on a credit card. Crazy.
And you put 20, and they put 20% down,
Yes.
and that's still.
So, and we still got the payoff amount, right? The future value of their
You're
annuity
paying
is
4 million?
$4 million.
You should just save up the 175,000 at that rate.
I mean,
Are you sure that's right?
I wasn't, but I've been through it a couple of times.
I have it.
Is this why you're asking?
That's why I asked. 'Cause I saw that number and went, yeah, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Stop.
Clearly some error has been made.
Happy I'm selling my house.
Yeah.
At the end of this year.
Okay. Harsh, dude.
Because I have a 30-year mortgage.
Then what?
You divide by 360?
No. So what is this? This amount is the amount of money that they'll pay off over the entire course of their loan.
If they don't pay extra on top of it.
Right, so this is-
They're living in a house that's worth.
This is the future value of their annuity though, it's not the grand total of all the payments. You guys see that?
Yeah.
So what you need to do is back this out to get the monthly payment amount, which should be less than this.
I hope so.
Why should it be less than this? Because the first payment, right,
$20,000.
is gonna be
All in.
compounded as though it earns 11.2% interest. It's gonna make a huge payment on the interest. And so you're not gonna just subtract the monthly payment from this to figure out what you owed after that one.
It's still a lot.
Yeah, it's still gonna be a lot. So what's the annuity
What is that?
formula I'm looking for?
R over N, right? Don't you just divide that
You
by R
do
over N?
that 3 million.
Okay, so I need the
A equals M.
3968166 equals M.
Which is 140. Is that?
No.
what it is?
Then you put a
One
comma,
plus, one
No,
plus
that's what we're
M
talking about.
times 1 plus
R over N,
R over N to the
N2,
NT
minus
minus 1
finish it.
divided by R.
all over R over N. And then, okay, so I know these numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's R?
R is point,
Point,
Point 112.
whoa,
0.112. N was the number of compounding periods
whoa.
Yep, in a year.
in a year. So that would be 12 and 12 and
12 times 30.
12 times 30. That's that 360 again.
And
You guys see this?
now M is what you're solving for.
Okay, so then I need to solve for M. So first things first, take this whole mess, multiply by 12 over, no, multiply by 0.112 over 12, both sides. So with me on that. I'm gonna clear the bottom. So I'm gonna get 3,968,166 times 0.112 over 12 equals M times all of 1 plus 0.112 over 12 to the 360 minus 1. And from this you get
Was that 2,920
$2,000. Yeah.
3,000?
Seconds on $2,000.
It's like 2,900. Well, wait, I did all the stuff on the right side, right?
So you did just this stuff?
And then I also divided it by 0.1.
Oh, okay, so you did this stuff and then divided by that stuff?
No, the other way around. I
Sure.
did all that stuff and divided
You
it
guys
by.
don't. I don't trust you. I need my own calculator. Just do your calculator. Okay, so if you type into a calculator, it's not that I don't trust you. It's just that no one else is answering, so you can't
It's
trust
okay,
just one of you.
I'm
just trying to play catch up right now.
Did you just call me blonde?
No, I said I can't trust
I said I'm
just
not blonde,
one
my
of
hair's
you
like
guys.
this.
Okay, so on the left-hand side of this equation, I got 37,036.216 is M times, and on the other side, I have, oh, crap, I erased it. That's annoying. Typing. I have 27.34404,305 because I'm paranoid now. Cool. And then I need to take the first 37036.216 and divide by the number I just got. And I got
1354.
I got that their monthly payment is approximately $1,354. So the $1,354 times 360 is kind of your question, right? So that's what the total amount that they paid is, right? this $4 million seems like just frankly a shitload of money, right?
Yeah.
But that's everything pushed into the future, right?
That's what it is.
That's what the $140,000 they're borrowing today will be worth in 30 years if they don't make any payments, right? But they're making some payments. Those payments are $1,354 each month. Well, and 45 cents.
So it goes down, what if you didn't do it?
So, and 45 cents, right? So their first monthly payment gets almost 30 years of experience, or 30 years of interest compounded on it, right? And so the total amount that they pay
47,440.
is $487,440, which is still an awful lot of money, right?
How did you get
That's
that?
almost 3 times.
So what I did was I took their monthly payment and multiplied by, how many times are they making a monthly payment? 12 times a year for 30 years, right? So 360 times. So I took their monthly payment, multiplied by 360. And I got that the total amount of money that they're writing checks to the bank for is $487,000, which is, yo dude, way more than the $140,000 you borrowed, right? But is a darn sight shy of the $4 million number that was in there for a second.
Yeah.
You
Can
guys
we
see
do
that?
a question where we have like a more realistic interest rate?
A more realistic interest rate?
Wait, I'm not,
It depends on how bad your credit is.
yeah. Wait.
So, what is a more realistic interest for home loans? Do you guys know?
I'm 18.
Oh,
I
look
don't
like
know.
that, no?
5 to 7%.
I would say
On average, like
5 to
7%.
5 or 7, somewhere in there.
Should be better than that. Maybe,
Again, it's all depends on your credit.
yeah, and interest rates have been going up
And how
since
much
I
you
bought.
have and-
Okay, so when I bought a house last year, it was 4%.
Well, you must have good credit.
I do.
Yeah.
We could do my
Oh.
mortgage.
Also, keep in mind, just a general rule about credit scores. Credit scores are not based on how good a risk you are. They have nothing to do with that. Your
Exactly.
credit
How much
score-
you pay your payments.
Yeah.
The credit score is essentially the total amount of interest you have paid over your life. So having good credit just means you've paid a lot of interest.
So wait,
Yes.
you just like pay your payments on time, on every time, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so one, you need to actually borrow some money. If you never borrow money, like if you just have a revolving credit card that's like $500 every month, and you run it up and pay it off and run it up and pay it off, that doesn't get you any credit at all because you never pay any interest.
So if you're just like amazing on paying your payments, you will have credit.
So you have to be able to, you have to borrow money. Like you have to borrow money that you're gonna pay interest on. So you have to get a car loan or something structured as an annuity needs to be in your.
What do rich people do?
What do you
They
mean?
just buy the whole house straight out.
Probably.
Just cut them a check.
No, like a car.
Pay the minute.
They just pay it in cash so you don't know.
No.
No,
probably
capital
listen.
gains tax is nothing.
Yeah.
If you're rich, you invest the money, you get a loan for the same amount and pay the loan. The interest rate will be lower than what you make in the stock market.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand what you just said.
If you have a big chunk of money today,
Yeah, and they want.
and your choice is to buy a car with it, or to invest it and take out a loan to buy a car, you invest it and take out a loan to buy the car. It's really stupid.
So you're making money. I'm confused.
Generally, the return on investment is better than the amount of interest that you'll end up paying. That's not always true, and it depends on what you have access to, but if you're rich and have access to good accountants, it is better usually to invest money than it is to use it to purchase goods that will depreciate.
Huh.
I have a specific problem that we could use.
Okay, does anybody have anything about this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I got it all.
Okay, so, okay, first, on the algebra, so you just multiplied your denominator, or lower, whatever you call it,
This thing?
Yeah,
The thing that was on the bottom?
yeah,
Can we call it the bottom?
the bottom.
I mean, we can make up a fancy word that means bottom, but.
The bottom.
Debominator?
The bottom.
Debominator.
The
The
bottom.
bottom denominator.
Okay, so.
You multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of it, so that,
No, I multiplied actually by it. It was, that thing was on the bottom, right?
you didn't multiply by that over one?
I did, exactly.
Okay.
So I took both sides of this equation, right? And I multiplied by 0.112 over 12 over 1
Correct.
on both sides.
Okay.
On this side, I distributed in, great.
On that side it can't.
And on that side, it cancels.
Okay. So then, you got to your monthly payment, $13.54. Okay, so that's the answer.
Yes, this is the answer. So the answer is the Gomez family pays, or will pay, $1,354.45 every month for 30 years on this one.
Okay, so the other
Plus
question.
their house payment or whatever.
This is their husband.
That's
What if
all.
they don't pay their property tax and
Yeah, and then there's property tax and insurance and all sorts of other nonsense.
you
But
really don't own it?
this is, at the very least, the payment on the loan, right? Oftentimes those get tacked on with homeowners insurance and property taxes and whatever. That goes into something called an escrow account, which is a whole different deal.
Okay, so.
Don't worry about it.
So
I
much
don't
fun.
wanna get older.
I don't want to get older. Good! That should be the moral of this whole class. Being an adult sucks sometimes.
So before all that,
Okay?
you found your future value.
Yep. So before that, what I did was I took my $140,000 I was borrowing now
Right.
and pushed it into the future so that it would be the future value of my annuity. That's this $4 million.
You have to do that
Okay,
every time?
see,
Yes.
that's where I'm confused, is because, like in other problems, you would just be like, okay, this is your A.
Okay, so,
Now you have to go through the formula to find your A and then plug that. It just makes more sense to do the 140K times times 360 and be like, that's your rough future, I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Because we never,
yeah, I'm kind of with you. So, the A in the annuity formula is the future value of this annuity. So this thing lives at the time you make the last payment. So that's what this A means. This is, what is the total of all of this payment structure that you've been doing? Right?
Yeah, I had the same confusion. That's
And
when I saw that number and I went, what the holy hell?
Yeah, you're like, dude, $4 million? No
That's
way, no
ridiculous,
how
yeah.
for 140,000. Like you saw me do it, right? I was like, whoa, wait a second. I clearly have made an error, right? But it's not the entire, right? That's not the amount they're paying. That's just what their payment schedule will be worth.
but 400, okay, so then, once you got your monthly payment, so that 4 mil is actually 500 grand?
So this $4 million is the value in 30 years of having every month for that 30 years a $1,354.45 deposit.
Okay, so the 11% is what's missing from that 500 grand.
Yeah, so the reason that this 500 grand is not this $4 million is that this 500 grand doesn't account for interest accrued over time.
That's just wrong.
So this is why the first payment on a loan, they say is mostly interest, right? That's because that payment is accruing the most interest. Does that make sense? That first payment, the first $1,354 check they write, that thing's going to accrue 11% interest valued over 30 years. Let's push that one payment into the future just for illustration, right? So let me just look at their first payment.
What if you give them $1 for the first payment?
Well,
House loan.
So, yeah, if you don't make the full monthly payment, right, then somebody's going to come complain to you. So let me take that first monthly payment, that $1354.45, right? And this first payment exists right at the beginning of the mortgage, right? You guys see that? So give or take 1, this is compounded 360 times. You guys see that? Let me just assume for kicks that it's compounded all 360 times. You guys see that? It's really compounded 359 times, but who cares? So I would push that forward with 0.112 over 12 raised to the 360, right? This is the kind of vehicle, like this is your time machine, right? This is the vehicle that pushes things into the future. And so out of this you get,
Don't you get that or plus 14, 4 plus?
somebody hit me? My expectation is that I should get something on the order of a lot. $40,000? No.
38, 390
Yeah.
and 59 cents.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Right, so your first payment knocks $38,000 off of that $4 million number. You guys see that? That's why they say that first payment pays mostly interest, right? Because that first payment paid
That's huge.
friggin' $37,000 worth of interest. Why did it pay so much interest? Because it's going to sit in there for a really long time. The second payment, right, is going to pay a little less interest. And then the payment at the end is going to be mostly paying for itself. You guys see that? So it's not like anybody's trying to cheat you with this, like, oh, it's the first payment's like mostly interest. It's just that they pushed that first payment forward. They got $40,000. So in the 30 years down the road, that thing's worth $37,000 worth of interest.
To the bank.
And then they pulled it back
See that? See this is pulling a bit.
to figure out how much that interest is worth today.
Right. That's the part where I was getting confused. I bought a car and they lined it out. Here's your first payment. Here's what it looks like. Here's how much interest. Here's your principal. And then by the time you get to the end of it, here's how much your interest is, which is in reverse. Your principal's a lot bigger.
Yeah, so payment schedules, when somebody makes up a payment schedule, like when you buy a house, you get a free little book that's about this big that tells you what each and every payment for your house is going to be. And the way they calculate that is they take which payment number it is, which controls how many times it gets compounded, push it into the future, right? Take the amount of interest that's paid by it, and then pull that interest amount back to the present time, and they get some bizarre number that makes vague amounts of sense and leaves you with the feeling that you're getting screwed. And it's not actually that anyone's trying to screw you, it's just that this is weird, because this is like today money, future money, what the hell?
It's just, for
Right.
me, it's always the idea of I'm paying all this interest up front instead of
Yeah.
principal up front. And that's always stuck in my head when I bought cars and stuff. It's, you're paying all this up front for your interest, but your principal is just this small amount. And next month you think about it, you start looking at the numbers, your principal starts getting higher.
Yep.
And your interest starts
Yeah, it
getting
always
lower.
feels like your interest amount that you're paying on goes down and your principal amount goes up. And really it's just that when they're not in there for as long, they don't accrue as much interest, and so most of them gets canceled out directly. Does that make sense? A little bit? Clear as mud? Good.